In every village, there is a place the elders whispers about, a path no one dares to walk, and a river no child is sent to after sunset. But one girl was forced to cross that line. They called her Nkechi, only 12, with eyes full of dreams and a heart scared by cruelty. Her only mistake was obeying her wicked stepmother, and that mistake opened the doorway to something no human should ever see. This is not just a story about fear, it's a story about survival, forgotten gods, and the price of disobedience. So grab your drink, sit back, because what happens after 6 p.m. by that river will stay with you forever. Hit that subscribe button and let's begin. Once upon a time, in a dusty village, crowded between thick palm forests and rolling hills, there lived a little girl named Nkechi. She was born during the yam harvest season, when the earth smelled of roast tubers and songbirds sang from dawn to dusk. Her mother often said Nkechi was a gift from the gods, a sunflower child born to light their world. Her skin glowed like morning earth after the rain. Her eyes, wide and curious, always danced with questions. Her laughter came easily, light and full, like the giggles of river chilled tickled by fish. Her parents, Ikenna and Inyoma, were simple people, not rich, but contented. Ikenna tapped palm wine by days, sang folk song by night, and would often carry Nkechi on his shoulders, singing, "My sunflower girl, you shine through storms." Her mother, Inyoma, was a weaver of mats, known in the village for her gentle spirit and healing herbs. Their home was small but warm, nestled under a large mango tree and always filled with the smell of pepper soup and the sound of lullabies. Life for Nkechi was full of colors until the sickness came. It started with a cough, just a dry cough. They thought Nyoma would clear her throat and carry on weaving, but the cough grew deeper until one night she vomited blood into the fire. Ikenna carried her to the village dibia, an old man with grey dreadlocks and a pipe that never left his lips. He looked at Inyoma once and shook his head slowly. "This is not ordinary," he whispered. "She has been touched." Ikenna knelt, begging, touched by what, Dibia? But the old man only looked toward the east, toward the river. He gave herbs, he prayed, but it was too late. By the third moon, Inyoma's eyes turned glassy. On a quiet harmattan morning, she exhaled one final time as her daughter clutched her hand. Ikenchi didn't cry at first. She just kept shaking her mother's arm, whispering, "Wake up, Mama, wake up. The yam is almost ready." The morning drum beat for 3 days, and the colors in Ikechi words faded. After the burial, the house became a quiet thing. Ikenna sat often on the wooden stool, staring into the fire, refusing food. He stopped singing, the laughter was gone. Ikechi tried to fill the void, sweeping, cooking rice with too much water, washing her father's wrapper, but her hands were too small to carry grief. Then came the day he walked into the compound with a new woman. Her name was Obianuju. Her hips swung like a bell and her eyes could slice palm kernel. She wore gele that kissed the clouds, and gold bangles that clinked like warning bells. The village women whispers that she was too proud, that her previous husband had died mysteriously, but Ikenna, desperate for companionships, waved away the warnings. Nkechi sat in a corner that night watching her new mother paint her lips blood red with crushed ibukus. That woman glanced at her once and said, "You, come and fetch me water." That was the first command. It would not be the last. Obianuju settled quickly into the home. She cooked with too much pepper. She threw out Inyoma's mat and burned the herbs, saying they brought death. She replaced everything with her own style, cold skill, imported soap, and sharp tongue rules. Ikenna began to smile again, though it was forced, like a man wearing shoes too tight. But to Nkechi, Obianuju brought darkness. The women rarely called her by name, only you, or girl, or sometimes useless thing. At first, Ikenna defended her. "She's still a child," he would say. But over time, he grew silent. When Nkechi cried after a beating, he would sigh and walk into the bush to tap palm wine. When Obianuju accused her of laziness, he would nod silently, nursing his guilt with silence. Then one evening, it happened. The villagers found Ikenna at the foot of a palm tree, rope snapped, neck twisted at an odd angle, dead. They said the tree had been cursed. Others whispered that his heart gave out from grief. Obianuju only wept for few hours, then told Nkechi to sweep the compound because visitors would soon arrive. Just like that, Nkechi became an orphan and her nightmare truly began. With no one to protect her, Obianuju ruled the house like a wounded lioness. A few months later, she moved in a man from the next village, Odogu, a butcher with thick hands and a laugh that could scare dogs. Together, they brought two children into the world, Amaka and Kosi, light-skinned, loud and pampered like royalty. As for Nkechi, she was the town's maid. She woke up before the rooster. She scrubbed floors with bitter soap until her palms bled. She fetched water from the far stream. She never ate until everyone else was done. And even then, she only ate bones and leftover scraps. Sometimes, when she sat under the mango tree, she would close her eyes and pretend her mother was still humming. She would whisper, "Mama, are you watching? Am I still your sunflower?" But the only reply would be the cry of a lizard or the rustling of a dry leaves. The other children in the village pitied her. Some tried to play with her after school, but Obianuju warned them, "Play with that girl and you will carry bad luck." So Nkechi stopped smiling, stopped laughing, but one thing never left her, her curiosity, especially about the river. Every evening, as the sun dipped below the hills, she would stare into the distance to the path that led to Iyocha, the great river. She would hear the whisper, "After 6, don't go there. The gods rise to bat. If they see you, they might not let you go." Children told stories about faceless spirits and beautiful women with fish tails, about light that distance on the water, about the voice of a weeping child that would pull you under. Nkechi never believed it until the day Obianuju sent her to fetch water after sunset. The village of Umuojima had many stories, but none as scared as the one about the river. It was not just any river, it was called Iyiocha, meaning the White River, named not because its water were clear, but because its spirits were pure, ancient, and easily judged. No one remembered the full history, but the elders, those bent men with cracked feet and voice like rustling leaves, always told the same warning. After 6, don't go there. The sun may set on your body, but it won't rise with your soul. Children would listen wide-eyed around bonfires, chewing roasted corn and watching the flames reflect in their wide, dark pupils. The stories varied. One tale spoke of a hunter who chased an antelope too far and returned mute, eyes white like palm wine foam. Another told of a woman who fetched water late and come back heavily pregnant, but with no memory of any man touching her. And there was the tale of the twins born with gills behind their ears, whose mother swore she only washed her feet in the river one late evening. In all the stories, one law stood firm: never go to the river after 6. But Obianuju, Nkechi's stepmother, scoffed at such thing. Old people and their fear story, she would say, pounding yam with fire in her eyes. The river is just water. What can it do to a living person? She had tongue sharper than a village knife and a heart made of ashes. She did not believe in gods or justice or fear. Only control, only power. And poor Nkechi, she was the one who paid the price for Obianuju's unbelief. It happened on a Wednesday evening. The sun was melting low in the skies, turning everything golden. Birds were quiet down, goats were returning to the pens. Ikechi had just finished scrubbing the compound floor with bitterleaf water. Her hands were red and sore, her blouse clung to her skinny frame soaked with sweat. Obianuju stormed out from the kitchen hut holding an empty water pot. "There is no water to cook with," she snapped. "Go and fetch." Nkechi looked toward the horizon. The sky had darkened. The sun was nearly swallowed by the hills. "Mama, it's past 6," she whispered, voice shaking. "What did you say?" Obianuju demanded. "The elders, they said the river." She collected a big slap. The sound cracked like lightning. Ikechi staggered, clutching her cheek. Obianuju's nostril fled. "You are quoting elders to me now. You think their old mouth can feed this house? Go, before I give you something worse to fear." Tears welled in Nkechi's eyes, but she knew better than to resist. She picked up the calabash and walked toward the river path. The road to Iyi Ocha was quiet that evening, too quiet. Even the frogs were silent. Nkechi's bare feet kicked dust into the air, her hands trembled. Every rust in the bushes made her flinch. She tried to keep her eyes forward, but in her heart something ancient stirred. The villagers said the gods began their dance at the stroke of 6, that they rose from the bottom of the river in cloaks of mist and danced along the banks, faceless and watching. Some said they floated, some said they cried, and some said they laughed, a laugh so sweet it would make you walk into water without knowing why. Nkechi reached the bank. The river was still, too still. No ripples, no breeze. The trees around it stood like guards. The air smelled strange, not like water, but something old, something metallic and flowery at the same time. She bent down, her hands shaking. "Please," she whispered, "I didn't mean to come late." Mama said I should come. Please don't be angry. She dipped the calabash into the river. The water swirled around her fingers like silk, cold but not painful. She filled the pot quickly. Just as she turned to leave, she held something. A giggle, soft, playful. Her blood froze. She turned sharply, scanning the river, the trees, the rocks. Nothing. She picked up the calabash and began to walk, faster this time. Then she heard it again. Giggle, splash, giggle. She didn't turn again, she ran. Back at home, Obianuju was complaining loudly about yam taking too long to cook. Nkechi stormed in, calabash nearly falling from her head, chest heavy. The woman didn't even look up. You are lucky the fire didn't die. Put the water down and go wash your dirty feet before you enter my kitchen. That night, Nkechi curled in the corner of the room, her knees to her chest shaking. She didn't eat. She barely blinked. And when she finally slept, her dream was of water swelling and spinning, and a pair of silver eyes watching her from beneath the surface. The next day, something strange happened. Obianuju reached to slap Nkechi for forgetting to add salt in okra soup, but stopped halfway. Her hand froze, then her arm began to twitch. She screamed, dropped the spoon, and backed away. What witchcraft is this? She twitched stop, but Obianuju hand remained numbed for 3 days. She called the dibia. He came, touched Nkechi's forehead, and frowned. She has been seen, he muttered. Obianuju laughed. Seen by who? She's just a cursed brat. The dibia only looked toward the east. The river doesn't forget those who come late. It watches, it chooses. Obianuju scoffed, but for the first time, a flicker of fear crossed her face. Nkechi didn't go to the river again for a week, but her dreams didn't stop. Each night, she would see shadows dancing over the water, beckoning. Each night, she would hear that same laugh, soft, sweet, echoing through the trees, and in each dream, a voice would whisper, "He saw you, we remember you, come back." The moon hung full and watchful over Mmirinma that night. Its silver glow draped the trees in a ghostly sheen, painting the dusty road in soft white like chalk drawn by unseen hands. Nkechi could not sleep. She hadn't slept well since that cursed evening, since the giggle, since the splash, since the silver eye that watched her from the beneath the river. She lay curled on her raffia mat, body still but eyes wide open, staring at the edge. Ceiling above, her stepmother snored in the corner, mouth wide, legs stretched carelessly like she owned the air itself. Nkechi turned to face the wall. Her thoughts were heavy. The dreams had returned stronger now. Each night, the voice grew clearer, closer. Come back, it would say. You touched our skin, now we have touched your soul. It had been a week since she went to Ocha after the forbidden hour, and every night since then she had awakened with wet feet, as if she had been sleepwalking into waters. But tonight was worse. Tonight she wasn't dreaming. She could feel it. A presence, something cold brushed her ankle. She sat up sharply. Nothing. She stood slowly and tiptoed to the door. The night air was cool, quiet, and unnaturally still. Even the night insects were silent, a rare thing in the village. She looked down. Her feet were wet again, but this time something else caught her eye. A mark, barely visible in the moonlight. It was shaped like a small fish, etched lightly into the skin of her left foot. Not carved, not drawn, It looked like it had grown there like a second birthmark. Her heartbeat quickened. She knelt, rubbing at it furiously, but the more she rubbed, the darker it glowed, a pale blue shimmer that pulsed with a life of its own. Then she heard it, the whisper, not in her ears, but inside her head. You are seen, you are chosen, the river calls you again. The next morning, Nkechi hid her foot with ash and cold clothes. She didn't tell anyone. Who would believe her? Obianuju would accuse her of playing in mud or practicing witchcraft. The elders would shake their heads and say it's the devil's play, and the other children, they already avoided her like a leper. She was alone, utterly, until the village priest's daughter came to her at the stream side. Her name was Chisom, a quiet girl, round-eyed and always humming old church hymn. Nkechi would wash clothes when Chisom knelt beside her, dripping her own wrapper into the stream. I heard your stepmother beat you again, Chisom said gently. Nkechi nodded, her eyes low. You should leave that house, Chisom whispered. Nkechi chuckled bitterly. And go where? The gods didn't give me a second mother. Chisom hesitated, then leaned in. My father said something strange yesterday. During evening prayers, he said he saw you walking at night toward the river. Nkechi sniffed. No, she lied, quickly. I haven't come since that day. He said you were barefoot and that the spirit followed you. The cloth slipped from Nkechi's hand. Tell your father to stop watching me in his dreams. I am just warning you, Chisom said, standing up. That mark on your foot is not ordinary. Nkechi froze. She hadn't shown anyone, not even Chisom. How did you know? I saw it in my own dream, Chisom said, eyes wide. The mark and the river had your name, being whispered again and again. Nkechi, Nkechi, come. That night, the village dogs howled in unison. From one end of Umojima to the other, the owls rang like siren, doors were bottled, candles were blown out, prayers were muttered. Even Obianuju trembled when she lay clutching her wrapper. But Nkechi didn't tremble. She felt pulled. Something stronger than fear was drawing her, not against her will, but not fully hers either. Like a thread had been tied around her ankle, a thread that pulsed, that hummed, that called. She slipped outside barefoot. The path to the river shimmered beneath the moonlight, dust rising with every step. She wasn't alone. Shadows moved ahead of her, tall and slender, like dancers made of smoke. They didn't speak, they didn't turn, they only glided. Nkechi followed. When she reached the river bank, she found the water glowing faintly, a silvery pulsing light, like hundreds of fireflies floating beneath the surface. The air was thick, sweet, heavy, with the scent of something that was not from this world. She stepped closer, then paused. A figure stood on the water, not beside it, not in it. On it, a woman, draped in white, her face obscured by long threads of wet black hair. She stood tall, motionless, barefoot, like a spirit stepped out of an old tale. Nkechi opened her mouth to scream, but her voice refused to come out. The woman raised one hand. Nkechi's body jerked, then calmed. Her heartbeat swallowed. The mark on her foot began to glow again, brighter and stronger. The woman spoke. Her voice echoed in thousand tones, male and female, child and elder, all at once. You are touched, not cursed, not blessed, just chosen. Nkechi collapsed to her knee. The river parted slightly, rippling around the woman's feet. You came after 6. You heard the laugh. Now you bear the mark. And soon you will know the price. The woman began to fade into the river like fog dissolving at dawn. Wait, Nkechi cried out, finally finding her voice. Why me? What did I do? The water shimmered. Then, softly, the same giggle echoed around her once more. You did not choose the river, child. The river chose you. When Nkechi awoke the next morning, she was back in her mat, but her wrapper was wet, and the mark on her foot now had two tiny slits beside it, like geese. The sky over Umuahia grew dim as the whispers of twilight crept across the land like a silent omen. The villagers were retreating from their farms, shops, and rivers, guided by a fear as old as the trees that shaded their path. Everyone knew that after 6, the river belonged to something else. But Nkechi, barefoot, clutching a cracked plastic bucket, walked that cursed path once again. Her body ached from the new day's work. Her arms trembled from carrying water, washing clothes, and sweeping a compound she didn't own. But it was her heart that hurt the most. That afternoon, Amaka had pushed her into the dust in front of their neighbors and laughed. Kosi had torn her only wrapper, and when she begged her stepmother to let her fetch the water earlier, the woman had eased. Go when I tell you to go, or no food for you tonight, she barked. The sun had already dipped behind the hills, the air was heavy with dread. The frog had started croaking in chaotic rhythm as Nkechi approached the river bank. She hesitated at the edge. The water shimmered unnaturally like glass kissed by moonlight. Even though were no moon, she felt her chest tighten and her throat thickened with unseen tears. I don't want to die, she whispers to the darkness. Then she knelt and began to scoop the water. Her hand trembled, her eyes darted across the surface, searching for Ripu's movement, anything that would mean she wasn't alone. Suddenly, the wind changed. A strong breeze swept through the surrounding trees, and the chirping frogs and crickets fell silent, so sudden it was like the whole forest held its breath. She turned slowly toward the river, and there she saw her. Floating gracefully above the water surface was a creature of impossible beauty, the mermaid princess. Her skin shimmered like silver in the dusk. Her hair flowed like dark silk behind her. She wore a crown of shells and river pearls, and her eyes, glowing with pale blue light, looked directly into Nkechi's soul. Nkechi dropped the bucket, her knees buckled and she fell. She faced in death. Please, she sobbed, please don't kill me. I only came because they forced me. The princess floated closer. Don't be afraid, child of sorrow. The mermaid spoke. Her voice was like water, soft, echoing, eternal. We have seen your pain, the river knows. Nkechi slowly lifted her head. You know me? She asked, voice trembling. The mermaid nodded. We see all who suffer under cruelty. Even tears that falls into the river sings to us. You have cried here many times, haven't you? Nkechi nodded shamefully, tears falling again. I hate them. I hate them all, she whispered. The mermaid drifted to the river bank and her body with bioluminescent light. The water beneath her danced with soft waves as if it's celebrating her presence. My name is Mmirinma, she said. I am the daughter of the river god, Idimiri, and guardian of his scarce hour. This place is not for humans after dusk, but you, she extended a glowing finger towards Nkechi. You are not like the others. Nkechi stood slowly, wiping her eyes. Why haven't you hurt me? She asked. Everyone says the gods punish those who come after 6. Mmirinma's smile was faint and full of sorrow. Because your pain echoes louder than your trespass, we don't punish the broken. Nkechi stared at her, the fear slowly turning into curiosity. She was beautiful and powerful, but not monstrous. The girl took a timid step forward. "Will they kill me one day?" Nkechi asked. "If they keep sending me here." The mermaid's eyes darkened, her voice lowered. "They think their evil is unseen, but the river sees, and the river remembers." Nkechi titled her head, heart pounding. What does that mean? Mmirinma didn't answer directly. Instead, she raised her arms, and the water before her bubbled and parted. A vision appeared, like a dream played on the water surface. It showed Nkechi's stepmother laughing with her new husband, slapping her again and again. Then it showed Amaka and Kosi smashing her last pair of shoes and blaming her for their own mischief. The vision shifted to show Nkechi curled under the mango tree, crying herself to sleep on the cold ground while they fettered inside. Nkechi gasped, "That's my life. That's, yes, she's the mermaid, and the river has kept all of it." The water stilled. Suddenly, Mmirinma looked deep into her eyes. "There will come a time," she said, "when the water will call you not to fetch, but to become." Nkechi was confused. Become what? Mmirinma began to sink back into the river, her hair spiraling behind her like ink in the waters. Her voice echoed one last time. "When that time comes, remember, you are more than what they tried to break." Then the river was still again. The frogs resumed their song, the crickets chirped, and the stars piercing through the night sky. Nkechi stood frozen, clutching her chest. For the first time since her mother died, she felt seen. Not by humans, but by something ancient, powerful, and just. She picked up her bucket, filled it quietly, and ran back home. Her legs flying, her breath short, her mind spinning with the vision she just witnessed. That night, she didn't cry herself to sleep. She lay awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying every word the mermaid had said. She didn't know what it means to become, but one thing was certain: the river had not forgotten her, and one day neither would the world. If you love interesting stories like this, subscribe to the YouTube channel so you won't miss out on the next episode of Why You Should Never Go to the River After 6 p.m.